Welcome to Asiatique. I'm your host, Dr. Raymond. Just earlier today, France recorded its US and Australian envoys over a $66 billion submarine deal, a deal that was supposed to counter China, but in fact, it actually outraged France. Now, in this episode, we're going to look at this whole thing, but not from a political point of view, from a cultural, Asian cultural point of view. After France recorded its envoys, the French ambassador to Australia actually said this was a huge mistake. Now, our focus here is not about the issue, not about the deal, but rather, let's take a look at something. Well, our focus here is not to look at the deal itself. What we're going to look at instead is what message is being sent out to people in Asia or among Asian nations as a result of the deal or as a result of this issue here. Well, our focus in this episode is not to look at the actual deal, but rather on that subtle message that's been sent out to Asia, Asian nations, Asians, and all around Asia as a result of the deal. Now, if you study cultural theories related to conflicts and dilemmas, you must have heard of one name, very famous name called Trompanus. Well, in 1996, Trompanus put forward an idea concerning universalism and particularism. Now, what these two means is when you focus on universalism, you focus on rules and not relations. So if you have a deal, it's a deal. So what happens here is when you are a universalist, then you draw up contracts readily. So it's the contract that you have to abide by. And for universalists, a trustworthy person is one who honors contracts. So if you honor your contract, then you are considered trustworthy in the world of universalists. So in a word, this is exactly what the Western world is about. So when Asians do business with Westerners, they would consider them to be universalists. So you have to honor your contract. I honor my contract. I honor the terms. You honor the terms. And we're not going to do anything other than these rules. So we stick to the rules and we just do it. Now, on the other side of this concept, there's what we call the particularists. Now, particularists are people who are, well, try to imagine this. Well, they focus on relationships more than rules. So it's not about rules here, it's about relationships. So I know you, you're my friend, we've been friends for like 30 years, so as long as we maintain that kind of a good terms, as we are all on good terms, then yeah, that's good enough. I don't care about the rules. Yeah, the rules are there, but there are always exceptions. So if you look at that, the way they do business, Asians or people in the East, they prefer to do things like particularists. So particularism for Asians is what prevails. Now you might ask, so what constitutes somebody to be trustworthy? Now in Asia, if you are considered to be trustworthy, then you would be one who would honor changing mutualities, which means, yeah, as long as I maintain that relationship with you, as long as I do things that would keep this relationship from going bad, then this is going to be trustworthy. This is what they think is trustworthy. Well, which means there can be several different realities sort of relative to each participant in a setting or in a contract or in an agreement. So we know how to as Asians, we know how to maintain that relationship among people and not just with very rigid rules. So it's not about just the rules here, it's about relations. And last but not least, one thing that particularists would be really, really interested in is that they realize or they believe that relationships do evolve. So they would move on with a changing relationship, but they would try to maintain harmony among different people, among different parties, just to make sure that that relationship is still there. Even when the rules are outdated, even when the rules are obsolete, it's no problem at all. There's no problem at all with that. Now, then, knowing about this universalism versus particularism, let's go back to that submarine deal. Okay, so let's put it this way. Originally, the deal was like this. There's a French majority state-owned naval group trying to contracted to supply 12 conventional submarines to Australia. And of course, the deal was valued at $66 billion US. And the deal was signed. Now that's the point. The deal was contracted, signed in 2016. The year now is 2021, and all of a sudden they said, okay, now we're going to scrap the deal with a new one. Well, the United States is going to supply 8 nuclear-powered submarines to Australia. Now, all of a sudden, they call off the original deal. They scrap the original deal, that $66 billion deal. Now, we're not going to speculate on why they're doing this, as if they wanted that deal so badly, and that's why they sort of scrapped it in a way. I mean, Americans, maybe United States wanted that deal so badly, and that's why they scrapped the other one together with Australia. Who knows? But we're not going to, go into the speculation. What we're going to go into, what we're interested here, is the effects, that message that got sent out as a result of this piece of news. Now, try to imagine this. Well, we all have reasonable expectations for anything, everything around us. Let's say, for instance, try to picture this. Russian President Putin is walking away from something. What do you think? What would you be thinking? That's going to explode. Well, that's the meme, right? So everybody thinks it's going to explode because, come on, Putin was the head of KGB before he became president. So when he walks away from something, it's just like James Bond walking away from something. It's just like, who else? It's just like Iron Man turning around and walking away from an exploding tank. Try to think of it this way. It looks cool, it looks badass, but the thing is, you expected that to happen, right? You have that kind of an expectation. What are we expecting right now? I mean, United States of America plus Australia, they are two. Well, if you think United States of America is the world police, and then what happens with Australia is that, Australia could be US deputy. Now, if that's the case, then you're talking about a Batman and Robin duel, right? So if you're talking about a Batman and Robin duel, and now that's saying, sorry, we're going to cancel that contract, even though we signed it back in 2016. We just don't want it anymore. We just want to do it ourselves. We just want to provide that ourselves. We just want to scrap the original thing. What kind of a message are you sending out to people around the world? It's not just about Asia here, but for Asians. Remember, we do honor relations more than rules. And when it comes to, scrapping a contract like this, you are now telling us that you will scrap the rules and you are breaking relations. So if you could do that to even an ally like France, what could you do to Asia? Now, that's a big problem, right? Isn't it? And when you say, now you're putting America first, is that what you're going to do to us as well? Is that what you're going to do to Asia as well? Putting America first and then scrapping each and every one of those contracts. When you see business, when you think you can take away that business, you scrap the contract. Is that what you're talking about? Now, if that's what you're talking about, then that is a very, very dangerous message that you're sending out. So if you think America is still the #1 country on this world, which I still agree, then please be a responsible leader. At least you have to tell people that you honor rules. But if you're not going to honor rules, and if you're going to break relations like that, then don't expect people to pay you that kind of respect, as if you were still the #1 superpower. But if you're going to break all these rules, and you're not going to maintain that relationship or these relationships, then what happened is, how would you still be able to convince people, especially Asians, that you are still the #1 country on this planet? So, before you cancel any contracts, before you do anything stupid, think twice. And until then, ciao.
Before you leave, please be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and share this with your friends. See you in the next episode.